Good morning, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well. Maybe you got some good rest last night. I pretty much did. A lot better than previous, anyway. A little more awake now. but yeah, I wasn't really planning to, make any video anytime real soon. Basically, because most of the time I make them in the vehicle while I'm driving. My air conditioning doesn't work all that well, especially in like 900-degree heat. I'm exaggerating, of course, but man, it's just brutal. This heat dome. I know a lot of people are dealing with it, so I mean, it takes a lot out of you. You got to stay hydrated, stay out of the heat as much as you can. Uh, it takes a lot out of you. But I went to bed at a decent hour. Got rested up. Ready for another day. Ready to face the outdoor sauna again. but it takes a lot out of you, especially if you're like doing outdoor work in this. Be really careful. I mean, this stuff can hit you fast. I mean, try to stay in the shade as much as you can. Stay hydrated, wear hats, um, whatever you got to do to reflect the heat, um, more light colored clothing than dark colored clothing, that kind of thing. Even your hat, your ball cap or whatever you wear on your head, more light colored so it reflects the heat more than absorbs it, just simple stuff like that. Just a suggestion with dealing with this heat dome, as it continues. So, not exactly looking forward to it, but hey, you do what you got to do. So, anyway, yeah. So I feel a little better, because said got the rest you need, and just deal with the heat the best you can. Now, so what's the point of this whole thing? Okay. If it get to the point, get to the point. Yeah, I know. Get to the point. Excuse me, losing my voice there. Uh, my voice is cracking like a teenager. Anyway, no. Here's the point. Um, I'm entitling this. What will it take? Because I got a I got an interesting email overnight, an unexpected email where someone was very honest with me, very open with me. And, I appreciate that because it takes guts, it takes courage to do things like that, you know. And they asked me that question straight up, you know. And a lot of times, if people ask me questions, I may not have an answer right off the bat. Sometimes I'll say, I don't know. You have to pray about it, seek the Holy Spirit, seek the Lord. I really honestly don't know. Um, it gives me food for thought, something to think about, pray about, what have you. And, you know, but there are certain rare times where I do have an answer, you know, other than an opinion. I might give an opinion. If people ask me for an opinion, what do you think? Well, then that opens the door for an opinion, and I might give them an opinion because they took the time to email me or what have you, or call me or text me or what have you. So, in this particular case, though, I actually had an answer for them, but it didn't come from me. It came from my, good longtime friend and pastor Ben Faircloth. And, if, whatever anybody knows about Ignited Church, Pastor Ben, or whatever, whether they like him, don't like him, agree with him, don't agree with him, whatever. We've been friends for a long time. Anybody that's listened to me for any period of time, you know that. And, we talk from time to time, mostly text or what have you. But the question that this individual asked me via email was the exact same question I had. I don't know how long ago. And I asked Ben. And I don't think he'd be upset that I shared this because I'm gonna try to help a lot of people here. I'm gonna try to, at least give people something to go on. Where when it comes to talking to friends, family, coworkers, whatever conversations may come up. I mean, because there's a lot of speculation out there, And it's just like it's clown world, man. It really is. It's like meanwhile today in clown news, the world is being run by Three Stooges, the Three Stooges and the Keystone Cops. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like it's just craziness. It's like I can't even keep track. Are we in a ceasefire now? I think we are. Pretty sure we are. Haven't heard anything different about it, so I think there's a ceasefire going on now. For how long? I don't know. I can't keep track. I honestly can't keep up with it. I don't know. So you just live life, do what you got to do each day, take care of business and what have you. But and those occasions where you might have conversation with people or something will come up because people might be concerned about things going on in the world or they're like singing the president's praises. Certain people are because they think he's so awesome because he dropped an F-bomb. That was hilarious and that was awesome, and he's showing everybody who's boss and everything. I'm just like, whatever. But anyway, some people think, that's just great. Yeah, I mean, we're right back on track, and America, America, America. I was like, okay, I'm gonna lose brain cells if I hang out around these people too long. But because I heard that kind of stuff, at work and whatnot. It's just like, uh, so clueless. But what do you do in those situations, right? I just walk away, like, whatever, man. It's like, whatever. Okay, I can't deal with this right now. Not in this brutal heat in these ridiculous conversations. But if someone asks a very serious question, or you get into a conversation of what will it take, the people that don't think America's on the right track, and they're not MAGA people, and they're reasonable, rational thinking people. Kind of hard to find those, but they are out there. But and they ask a very poignant question like, what's it going to take to wake people up? What's it going to take for people to understand that that we are in dire straits, and they cover it up really well, they hide it really well, and they make everything look like it's so much better than it is, even though when you go deep into the headlines and deep into research or whatever, that it's really, really bad. But they just keep covering it up and making it seem like everything's okay. So what's it going to take? Well, when I asked this question years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, and Pastor Faircloth, he answered me, because I have my own opinions. I was like, well, it might be this, it might be that, it might be this, and he told me that he truly believed, and I can't disagree with this, because if you think about it, what is the one thing that everybody needs, or at least they think they need, for the most part, doesn't have, and a lot of people will do just about anything to get? And it should be salvation, right? But no, it's not. It's not. It's money, mammon, gold, silver, dollars, whatever. Money, 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 money. And what he told me was, as long as there's money, people's hearts will not change. What it will take is the money to be gone. When people go to the ATMs and they can't get anything out, when they go to the banks and the banks steal their money or won't release it, whatever, when the money is gone, that's when people will wake up. Now, how they respond to that, for the most part, will be incredibly negative. Because, well, why wouldn't it be? People stole their money. They went to the ATM, they earned that money or whatever, they trusted the bank, they put it into the account, and now the ATM is basically saying, nope. It's like, what do you mean, nope? I mean, I have money. I have money in the account. And the ATM's like, nope. Can't take it out. You go to the bank's like, nope, we're doing a bank bail-in. Can't do it. By that time, the banks would be closed anyway because they wouldn't want everybody to be burning down the bank with people in it, breaking the windows out. You've all seen the apocalyptic movies or television shows. People freak out when there's bank bail-ins. They can't get their money out when they need to get their money out. See, people are under the assumption that when they go to the ATM, they put the card in, the money's going to come out. Now, they can only get a certain amount out at a certain time, depending upon your bank or credit union for how much they will allow at any one time withdrawal. And you can usually get more if you go into the bank and talk to a teller or whatever, as long as things are still okay. But when something happens, whatever it is, natural, unnatural situation, whatever it is, whatever the chaos may be, everybody has their opinions and speculations on that. We got the 4th of July weekend coming up here sooner than people think. It's going to be upon us real fast. And there's a lot of speculation. I have my own opinions of what may happen during that weekend. It makes a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of reports out there, a lot of videos out there on what would happen. Well, if it's bad enough in the major cities or what metropolitan areas, whatever it is, event occurs, whatever, and it spreads throughout the nation. And like I said, I'll leave that open to people's interpretation, whatever they think. Okay, I'm not going to get into the details. I watch a lot of the same things other people do, listen to the same things other people do, or share them or whatnot. It could be a lot of different things, okay? But whatever the aftermath is of that, okay, will most likely mean no money. People will not be able to get their money out of the account. And if they can't get their money out of their accounts, then they're going to freak out. They're going to lose their minds. So that's what it will take. Now, other people will recognize that they need Jesus. Probably not a lot of people. But a few people will say, man, I got no place else to turn. I've hit rock bottom now. I have no money. I can't get anything I need to buy. I can't do anything. It's like, God, help me. Jesus, help me. Jesus, save me. Unfortunately, I believe most people will just lose their minds, freak out, become very violent and chaotic because they're not prepared for it. They don't have anything stored up, stocked up. They're going to panic. They're going to freak out. The grocery stores still may have stuff, but without money, nobody's going to give you anything. You have to go and buy it. So even if the shelves aren't completely empty, if people, they don't have cash on hand, they couldn't get any cash out. Their debit and credit cards don't work for whatever reason, some type of cyber attack or hack or what have you. I'm just spitballing here, okay? And say that happens over a major holiday, like the one coming up, or before that, after that, I have no idea. The bottom line is, though, if people don't have money, they can't do a whole lot. So money is what changes people's hearts, either for the good or the bad. It's like their heart, like Ben told me, it's like their heart, and he's mentioned it in sermons too, so I'm really not saying anything that shouldn't be said here. Revealing any major secrets here, so betraying a confidence, a trust. It's like, but a lot of people, their hearts are attached to their wallets or their purse or what have you. So it's like, if you don't believe that, have people ask for money, that really, really need it, and be like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I can help you. I'd help you if I could, kind of thing. And hey, I get it too. I work hard for my money. My wife works hard for her money. My kids work hard for their money. I get it. But ultimately, it all belongs to God. It all belongs to the Lord. But, you have to be a wise steward of your finances. You can't just go, throwing money out the window kind of thing. But at the same time, if people really need assistance, and they're not, con artists, and they're not false prophets trying to promote their ministry, or, well, I can't stand using that term for false prophets. They're con, okay? If they're not trying to promote their con, or other charlatans and liars and thieves and hypocrites and cowards, whatever, they're not trying to promote their con, but it's like legitimate people that really, really need help, it's just like, yeah, then you really know where people's hearts are at, excuse me, regarding money. because it is. It's like the money is attached to the heartstrings, you know. I mean, it's like, you know, you really know where people's heart is at when it comes to money. That's I think that's how people are tested the most, and it's just like you really know where they are, where they're at, where their hearts are at. Just my opinion on that. So what it boils down to is when the money's gone, that's when people wake up, either for the positive or the negative. That's when they get it. Now, I would always think it's like, well, when the bombs are dropped or whatever, you know, or when there's major attacks or whatever, that could be part of it, but then it's all related to the money because when there's major attacks, you know, somehow that's going to affect the economy in the negative. So it all comes back down to the money. That's the bare bones there. That's the basics of it all, is the money. So, one other thing I'm going to touch on because prior to this email that I got, you know, overnight, um, had a conversation, phone conversation with a friend on Monday, and we were talking about, you know, different things. They call me from time to time, always very polite, you know, always very, you know, considerate. They always ask me, it's like, hey, are you busy right now? Can I give you a call, or when can I call you, or whatever. So I always appreciate that, you know, because it's like people, they recognize that, you know, you may not be able to pick up the phone right then. You might be busy working or dealing with something, or, you know, family time or whatever the case may be. So I always appreciate that. So when they do, so most of the time when they say, hey, can I give you a call, you know, usually I'm available and I can take their call. So that happened to be the case on Monday, and person called me and we were talking about a variety of different things, and then it dawned on me with everything that's going on in the world right now, especially with Iran and Israel and whatnot. Went back to shared it before, talked about it before. You know, the two major messages that were released before Ben Faircloth really started having his major health issues, where he couldn't preach any longer, at least not currently. And the one was the one that was on March 30th, Iran, the lynchpin to the fall of America, and then the one from Mother's Day, War, where, like I said before, he asked the father, you know, respectfully, you know, what is next? And that was the response, war. So kind of hard to debate that those weren't true prophetic words, you know, that he spoke from the pulpit. You know, some people can debate it all they want. They say, no. Look, because they're at a ceasefire now. Yeah, for how long? Okay. But anyway, bottom line is, it has been war, not just a physical war, but spiritual war, wars within people's personal lives, war everywhere, okay? Chaotic war everywhere. So that's the bottom line with that. But the one regarding the Iran, the linchpin to the fall of America, I explained it to my friend this way who called me, and it's just that you have to understand what a linchpin is in this context, and this is what was given to me regarding that. A grenade. If people are familiar with a grenade, okay, that and how a grenade operates is you have a pin in the grenade. Now, if people don't know how a grenade works, you hold the grenade, you hold what's called the spoon, which is like a lever, okay? And you hold that against the grenade. If you pull the pin on the grenade, like the lynch pin, I guess in this case, but you pull the pin on a grenade, but you keep the lever pressed against the grenade, you can pretty much hold that grenade until your hand cramps and you let go, okay? Because that grenade's not going to go off in your hand as long as the lever is pressed against the grenade. So the lynch pin is like a safety valve in this way, the pin. Okay, so you remove the pin first, and then you hold the grenade until you get into position or whatever. Say, for instance, people need to get closer to their target or whatever the case may be. So they pull the pin, and then you continue to hold the lever against the grenade. But then once you let the lever go, you have 7 seconds, which seems like quite a long time, right? It goes fast. Okay, but you don't have a long time. once the lever is released. Because then the grenade can go off in your hand if you don't throw it. All right? Not good. So the lynchpin, okay, so Iran is the lynchpin to the fall of America. So the pin was pulled, okay? But here's the thing about a grenade. As long as people are holding on to the lever, as long as the person is holding on to the lever against their grenade, they can put the pin back in and the grenade becomes inert. So basically it's safe once again. All right? But when the lynchpin is pulled, like I said, as long as they hold on to the lever, the grenade will not explode. So you can still hold on to the lever against the grenade and put the pin back in. So I was explaining to my friend about I said, so that's it, okay? So the pin can be pulled, okay? That's the linchpin to the fall of America, okay? But it can also be put back in, kind of like a ceasefire, okay? So you have, I hate to use the word, but a minor delay, okay? Not a major delay, a minor delay, because the ceasefire could end at any time. It could go on, I don't know, for hours, weeks, months, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. All I know is that's how the pin works. So the pin's in the grenade's inert. Pin comes out of the grenade can go off, can explode, but you got to release the lever and then throw the grenade. All right? So that's how a grenade works. At least that's how they used to work. I haven't thrown one in a long time. I don't own any. I just remember in training before, that's what they would tell us. They're like, okay, guys, here's the deal with these grenades, all right? This is how grenades work. It's just like, you got to pay attention. You got to listen. It's like, okay. So if you change your mind, you decide you don't need to throw this thing or want to throw this thing, you just keep that lever pressed against the grenade. If you pull the pin, put the pin back in and you're good to go. But you don't put that pin back in, well, you can hold the lever for a while. You got 7 seconds, but that 7 seconds goes pretty quick. So you gotta, I hope I'm explaining this clearly enough. So eventually you gotta either throw the grenade or put the pin back in, okay? Because what reminds me of, if anybody's ever seen the movie Lethal Weapon, the original Lethal Weapon movie, way back, like 1987, I'm sure some people have seen it, at least the whole movie, if not portions of it, at some point in their life. Really popular film back in the 80s, right? Well, that was kind of the end of the film, where Sergeant Murtaugh there, he throws a smoke grenade, but the bad guys, the mercenaries, they don't know that it's a smoke grenade, but that's what he does. He pulls the pin, and Gary Busey's character, the lead mercenary, he goes, put the pin back in their grenade, and he goes, because they've kidnapped his daughter, and he's just like, you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna kill your daughter. He's like, oh, if she's gonna go my way, kind of thing. And it's like, put the pin back in their grenade, because they know that if he's pulled the pin, and he did, that as long he's holding on to the lever, but they also know that, okay, that grenade could go off as soon as he throws it. We've got to scatter, we got to run, we don't have a lot of time. But it turns out to be a smoke grenade, but they don't know that at the time. That's kind of what it reminds me of, because like I said, he pulled the pin, but he's holding on to the lever, the spoon. He's holding on to the lever against the grenade. So if they shoot him, which they do, they shoot him in the shoulder, and of course he drops the grenade and then they all scatter, and then they realize that it's a smoke grenade instead of an actual grenade. So anyway, just that's what it reminds me of. That's what I go back to. I go back to clips from movies or whatever. It reminds me of things. So, but anyway, that's the linchpin to the fall of America. So right now, pin's back in the grenade, so it's inert. We got a ceasefire. But at any time, I don't know when, that pin could be pulled again, and we're right back to square one. So anyway, I hope I'm explaining this clearly enough. I hope it makes sense to people. Bottom line is, as I said, I got to make these videos here, you know, as I'm getting up, getting ready for my day or whatever. It's just too hot during the day now. The air conditioning doesn't work that great, and it's just not gonna work out well making videos on the road. It's just too blasted hot right now. So, but anyway, um, bottom line is, folks, as long as there's money, don't expect people's hearts to change. That's really what it boils down to. The money's gone. Maybe some hearts will change. Maybe people turn to Jesus. Maybe they get right. Some. But, man, some people, they're just, I'm not saying they can't be saved. They're just really, really, really far gone. They're just real far gone. So, hey, the Lord's will be done on earth as it is in heaven in all things. You know, you don't give up on people. You pray for their salvation. You pray for them to have a change of heart. You know, however you're led to, you know, then do those things. But don't expect people's hearts to change until the money's gone. Don't expect people to wake up until the money's gone. That's pretty much the bottom line. That's pretty much everything. And if I'm wrong, it's been a long, long, long time. Feel free to correct me or whatever if I'm wrong about the lever with the grenade. But I'm pretty sure that's what they told us. You know, you hold the lever, you know, and I'm pretty sure it's called the spoon against the grenade. Then, you know, it does not go off until you release the lever, throw the grenade. And I believe it was 7 seconds, which, like I said, it seems like a whole long time, but it really isn't in the heat of battle. It really isn't, you know, because that's 7 seconds is like from the time you release the lever, you know, and throw the grenade, you know. So it's not like in the movies or whatever where it goes off right away, you know. It's a little bit of time, not a lot of time, but a little bit of time. But you keep that lever compressed against the grenade, you put the pin back in, everything's cool. Once you pull the pin, though, you got to decide, okay, I can hold the lever until I'm ready to throw this thing. But then once I release the lever, it's game on. That thing's either going to go off in my hand or it's going to go off near the enemy. But it's going to go off one way or the other. All right, that's it. Y'all have a blessed day. Take care. Stay cool out there as much as you can. You know, do what you got to do to stay cool. Because this heat is no joke. It's brutal, and heat emergencies are no joke. You could get hit with heat exhaustion. That's your clue. Heat exhaustion first when your skin is like cool and clammy, and you know, and it's just you know, you stop. You know, you just feel weak, tired, dizzy. You might feel nauseous. Feel like you want to throw up. You know, get out of the heat. All right. Because the next step is the heat stroke. You know, that's your heat exhaustion. You know, sweating profusely, you know, and you just feel bad. The heat stroke, and your skin is red hot and dry, and your body core temperature is way, way up, and that is a medical emergency. Dealt with it many times in my career, and it's no joke. I mean, you're dealing with a medical emergency there, and that's 911 type stuff, and that is getting that body temperature down as fast as you possibly can, because that core body temperature, man, you're cooking on the inside, and people can die. They can die from heat stroke. Heat exhaustion will just make you really, really sick, and you'll feel like you want to die. But you gotta respect the heat and get out of that heat, and you start to feel that way. You know, heat exhaustion is that's your sign to get out of the heat. You're just sweating profusely and you just feel like garbage. Feel like you're gonna pass out. Don't push yourself. Don't push yourself, especially if you have a bad heart or any other medical condition or whatever, because you could pass out, and the next thing you know, people aren't paying attention to you. You know, you're out there doing whatever it is you're doing. Nobody's paying attention, doing their own thing. Then you're just laying out in the sun. Then the next thing you know, you're going to have heat stroke. So just think about it. All right. Y'all take care. Be safe out there. And I said, respect the weather. Respect the heat. Respect it. All right. I got to go. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.